Ty Brady here with Brady Insurance Marketing and the Ty Brady Way. As a successful entrepreneur myself, I'm passionate in helping other entrepreneurs do the same as they rise from rags to riches and get inspired each week on the stories they tell here at the Ty Brady Way. Welcome back to another episode of the Ty Brady Way. And you know, Trent's probably not going to like this. This is Trent Staggs. He is going to be our next senator for Utah. And I believe that wholeheartedly. He's very passionate about what he does. I love it when he speaks because he gets a lot like me. You can tell the enthusiasm and passion that comes through. But, you know, one of the things that I want to talk about today is, you know, I've been a mayor, you've been a city councilman. Yeah. So tell me about this journey that took you to being even a U.S. senator, wanting to be a U.S. senator, because as you know, and we talked, you know, it's a grinding process. It's a lot of spotlight, but I can tell that you have a lot of passion for America and you want to do the right thing. But let's talk about that journey. So you started out as a public service in what, a city council member?
That's right. Yeah. Back in 2013, was elected for the first time to any office. I honestly didn't know if I would ever try to seek elected office, and we did it back in 2013. I just said, you know, I think I've got the business background,
okay,
right, that can add value to my city. This is where I want to live. This is where my wife and I are going to raise our family, and see if I could help. And so I started attending city council meetings, and I thought, sure enough, looking up at the dais, there are people there that are good people, but don't have the same types of experiences in business that I do. And I could maybe help out. So we did, ran for office, knocked every door, won by 105 votes against a 12-year incumbent.
Wow.
And ended up just taking off from there, you know.
So you were in city council for how long?
4-year term.
Four-year term.
Uh-huh.
And then after that, you're like, hey, there's something to this. So then what did you do?
So then I decided to run for mayor.
Okay.
You know, I just had done a lot with the city in my time on the council, kind of really commandeering the budget and bringing some good solutions, like business-minded solutions to city government that saved tens of millions of dollars for our property taxpayers. You know, we got out of a larger police organization, self-provided, cut our property taxes day one. So
that was a big deal. You got a lot of criticism that, you know, you were going to open your own police force and manage that. But you know what? A lot of cities followed that.
They have. Yeah.
I mean, you were kind of the front runner, right? And so was that tell me about that process.
Boy, that was a challenge because the lobbyists had kind of created the law. They wanted to make it very difficult to get out of a larger taxing entity. You know, they wanted feasibility studies. They wanted you to jump through a ton of hoops that were very expensive. We ended up changing the state law that just said, no, our city council should be able to self-determine. And I think that's what America's all about. You know, local government is what governs best. We have a self-determination.
Yeah.
Is a right that we all have, and each community should be able to decide for themselves how they want to best protect their communities. And so we brought that power back to local government, got 10 more cops for the same amount of money we were contracted to pay at the higher governmental agency. And so we got a lot better service, and we were able to cut our property taxes. And so had we stayed in that other agency, we would have paid about $20 million more now in property taxes the last 5 years than we paid otherwise, because they keep raising their rates every year. So it was a move and initiative that I spearheaded, and some other things. People saw that, and I went ahead and won mayor in 17 against a 12-year incumbent. So a little bit of a pattern.
Yeah.
And from there, my wife and I talked about it. This is my second term as mayor, got reelected in 21. I ran unopposed. It's either I'm doing a great job or nobody's crazy enough to do the same job that I'm doing. So I thought, you know, I don't want to be one of those people that's in the same office forever. I don't think that's the way our government's intended. Yeah. We should be, you know, it should be a citizen government, part-time. It's truly service. That's what.
Not a career.
Public service. Yes. Yeah. And so we decided to move on. Do I just go back to the business world? Because I've got a business background too. You know, I'm paid part-time as a mayor. Yeah. And so I've always had
very part-time. It's more like, I wouldn't even call it part-time.
You know what I get paid.
Yeah. It's like, you do this, right? Yeah. To do this is like, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's a whopping $40,000 a year for a city of 50,000 people, 170 employees. I'm the CEO of the city by statute. No, it's in the code.
Plus the chief of police, right?
Yeah. So I
What do you
oversee
call?
our police
Yeah,
chief.
police. That's what it is.
So I'm the CEO of the city, quite literally, 170 employees, and we got an $80 million budget. So it's a decent sized organization, and doing it all for a small amount of money, which is fine. Again, it's public service, but I've always been engaged in other things, and so we thought about, in fact, helped take an energy company public, got listed on NASDAQ, and a few years back. So we thought we'll just go back to the business world, or maybe find another office that I can serve a broader constituency. And the Senate race came up because, my wife and I, we didn't care for the way in which Mitt Romney was representing the state of Utah. We thought we could do a better job. Yeah.
And you announced before he even was seeking re-election, right? You had announced, you was like, hey, I'm going to do it the right way. One thing that I admire as well is you said, hey, I'm going to go through the traditional caucus and delegates, right?
That's right.
And a lot of people may not know this, and I've learned a lot about politics because you helped me out with the situation in my industry, got me connected with some folks, which I appreciate. But they changed the rule. How long ago they changed the rules where you could get signatures and not go through the traditional Republican caucus?
It's been about 10 years now.
So they're
back in 2014.
So 2014 they changed the rules, but you did it the way where you got the delegates to vote, and then you, if I remember correctly, you set a record for the delegate votes.
Yeah, it was great. We've been campaigning hard, as you pointed out, those 2 points. Like, number one, we were the only ones to challenge Mitt Romney. So I announced a year ago, last May, and said, I don't care if he's running again or not. My intent is to primary Mitt Romney. And I'm the only one that's done that. And the only one that's mentioned his name, quite frankly, which to me is a little bit disturbing.
Yeah.
That people wouldn't even be willing to challenge his policies. And so in doing that, we were able to accumulate a lot of endorsements. We got endorsed early on by Mark Levin, by Charlie Kirk, by Kerry Lake, by Senator Tuberville, Rick Grinnell, Kash Patel, many, many great people and patriots, national conservative voices. And ultimately that culminated in the endorsement of President Trump, and got President Trump. The morning of April 27th, our state convention, as you described, we have 4,000 delegates that are elected across various neighborhoods in our state on March 5th at the caucus night.
Yeah.
They're supposed to represent their neighborhoods and say, hey, we're going to vet the governor, the gubernatorial candidates, the senatorial candidates, and any statewide offices. And we're going to try to determine who is the best candidate. And we won 70%. To your point, we won 70% of those delegates. That's an historic record. Nobody's ever cleared 60% in an open Senate convention. So clearing 60%. Wow. Used to be automatic nominee, no primary, before the signature gathering thing you talked about. But now they changed it. So we got 3 other people that have bought their way on the ballot. There'll be 4 people on it. But getting 60%, I do have the endorsement of the party. So the state Republican parties endorsed me in addition to President Trump and many, many others.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting when you say people bought their way onto the ballot. Yeah. And I think that's the wrong way to do it. Because while you're buying your way onto the ballot, I don't believe it equates to voters. And, you are voted by the people for the people. Right. And yet you're buying your way onto a ballot. Is that because you want the title, the prestige? Do you want I'm the senator? Like, why is that? I just don't think it should be that way personally. Yeah. I'm probably going to get a lot of flack on that, but you're voted people voted you in, and you're there for the people, and you should take the majority of people, and that's who their voice is. Yeah. Those people voted you in.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more so. And, it's for whatever their motives are.
Sure.
They're spending millions of dollars. We've been outspent 20-1 by these other candidates. I mean, we got one guy that used to be our state speaker of the House has dropped almost $5 million on this race.
Oh.
And they're polling, by the way, in the single digits. Another guy got in January that's dropped $3 million plus on the race. He's polling at 2%. And then this Congressman Curtis, who is really, we're 1 and 2 with 4 weeks to go here. He's got millions of dollars. He's dropped in. He's made millions of dollars from insider trading or from.
I've seen that. Seen that. Yeah.
I don't know if it's insider per se, but he's, trading of stocks. He's really outperformed the S&P 500, which is crazy that so many congressmen are able to do that.
Yeah.
But he's also got a PAC of $4 million, $6 million, a couple of big PACs. One of them is a climate change PAC that's put a ton of money. So people are saying, boy, we're seeing all these commercials from these competitors. Well, what we've got is the grassroots. As you said, we've got 7,000 plus individual donors that have donated. Those are the votes. Those are the people. We've got the delegate support. They're going out there. Those 4,000 delegates, they're talking to their neighborhoods. And of course, we've got the endorsement of President Trump. And we're broadly communicating that now. We have started to go up on TV with commercials and billboards and all that.
Yeah. 4 weeks to go. I got no doubt that, you'll be the next U.S. Senator. So what's your idea? You sent out, what do you call it? Your commitment to do an office. What were those points?
Yeah, we created a contract with Utah back last fall, right? There's 7 points on it. And I just felt compelled to do it. I loved it back in 94? 94, right? When they did the contract with America, Newt Gingrich. And it just says, hey guys, look, this is what I'm going to focus on. And one is a balanced budget. We've got to have a balanced budget amendment. This is sickening to me.
What business doesn't have to balance a budget? And you're like,
or city.
Yeah.
I've had to every year for 10 going on 11 years. And when I announced my candidacy a year ago, Ty, it was 32 trillion in debt. Now we're 35 trillion in debt just in 1 year. So balanced budget. And for that reason, my second point is I'm not going to vote for an omnibus spending bill like these continuing resolutions.
They keep kicking the can down the road.
They do. With that, it's sickening to me that they get 4 people, the Senate and House leadership will go into a closed room. They come out with 1,000-page plus, piece of legislation, a budget that 4 people have negotiated. I mean, that is unconstitutional to me. It's unbecoming a self-governing nation, I've said, where we've got people that we've elected. They're supposed to be back there negotiating on the budget, talking about it, passing it. That's the process that was created back in 1974. There's 12 different appropriation subcommittees like defense and military construction and agriculture and all these. They're supposed to be putting together their own budgets with opportunity for debate and amendment. That's not happened because you've got this group that's done these continuing resolutions for so long. So I've said, look, I'm not going to support that process, even if it means the government shuts down. And if we have enough people with that kind of courage, like Mike Lee has done here, our other senator, it'd be fantastic that we get us on the right path. That will bring us to a balanced budget, I believe, by not voting for those. But we have other things on the contract, like, I want to ban the trading of individual stocks for members of Congress and their families, like we were talking about. You've got one of my opponents he's made millions and millions of dollars.
Isn't he like top 5 or 10
in the last 7 years? He's been in office.
Yeah.
So this to me is it just isn't right. I said we don't let referees bet on the ball game.
Yeah.
So why the heck do we allow members of Congress to trade individual stocks, especially on committees which they sit in industry where they know of certain things coming down? I mean, that's just not right to me. So we want to ban that. We want to prevent people from becoming lobbyists for at least a 10-year period of time. Exiting members of Congress, high-ranking government officials, why do they just leave, then become lobbyists, go make $500,000 or more a year, and they just keep this perpetual money wheel debt going? We need to stop that.
Yeah.
Those are some of the elements in it. A few other points as well, but those are probably some of the biggest. Term limits is another one in there that I believe in. I signed a term limit pledge, 2 in the Senate, 3 in the House. I just don't think that this should be a profession. It's like it's public service. You go in there, you do your best, and you leave. Yeah.
You need to have a new perspective, a new insight, right? And the only way that's going to happen is, some of those things that you put on the table.
Yeah.
It is, you sit there and you're just like, shake your head. But, people can sit on the sidelines, right? And complain. What would you tell somebody? I went to the caucus and it was a record, we crashed the system when everybody was there. People that I didn't even think were interested in politics were there. They were asking me my opinion, my thing. And I was in your little district or precinct. And what area that was in. And the guy that was the precinct president, he's like, listen, the last 12 years I've done this, I've never seen more than 3 people.
Wow.
And this year there was 21, right? And then you did your voting. But for those people that may be sitting on the sideline, what would you tell them to do?
Boy, well, I would tell them to participate in that's our franchise, your right to vote, that's given to everybody that's 18 years or older. We need to take that franchise seriously.
Yeah.
And we need to exercise that right, but be informed. Don't just vote to vote. Let's figure out who are the right people. Who are the right people that are going to stand up for true America First principles and values and for our Constitution. Because what's happening today, we got far too many people we elect that go back to DC to become part of the establishment, this special little group, and they don't listen to the American people. And that's why we're 35 trillion in debt. That's why we have an open border. That's why we have regulation that is strangling industries, like some. We talked about that. And I've been a business owner myself. I mean, I've seen
they want to destroy it. It's
too bad.
It should never. I think I talked to Mike Lee's office, or maybe it was Mike Lee's office. He said it should not be allowed that an institution should be able to, with one swipe of the pen, destroy an industry. It should go. It should go in front of the House and Senate.
Yes.
And he's like, that's the way it should be, because this industry impacts seniors. It impacts the agents, and it's a big deal.
100%. Those are the three biggest priorities for me. Like border, budget, and regulatory reform. So the budget we talked about with the omnibus spending, saying no to that, getting back to process will get us back in shape. The border wall, Trump policies, border wall, remain in Mexico, E-Verify, cutting off benefits to illegal immigrants. And then you've got, with regulatory reform, what Mike Lee is talking about there, he calls the Reins Act. So he's trying to push that. We got to get it across the finish line. R-E-I-N-S, rein, like reining in on a horse, the reins. You got to rein in the federal government, because sadly, Congress decades ago, they abdicated their responsibility. They gave it to a bunch of unelected bureaucrats. These people that work at the EPA or, any three-letter agency, you name it. What was the one with the is it CMS? CMS, yes. Right, in your industry. So why on earth are we allowing these people that are unelected to write quite literally 100,000 pages of new rules every single year? And they're not accountable because they're not elected. So the Reins Act.
It's clear they don't understand our industry.
No.
I'm like, what? And it's a mess.
Yeah, these people need to go. And the Reins Act says, look, if you want to propose rules, these agencies, I'm in favor of eliminating a lot of them and really reducing a lot of these, the federal employee headcount. That's why I got the endorsement of Vivek Ramaswamy too. He wants to cut by 75%. I mean, look what Elon Musk did, right? With Twitter, it cut out 80%. I talked to another business owner. They were able to cut out substantially and still actually grow and be more profitable. But we need to take a look at that, the federal government, eliminating some agencies or streamlining altogether. But then it says you can propose rules. They can't have the effect of law like you're now doing with your rulemaking until it comes back to Congress and we vote on it.
Yeah.
It has to be, because we're the ones that have to be accountable to the people. These people are not. And
well, they're not getting flack. I'm calling you. I'm calling Mike Lee's office and Burgess Owens, and that's what we were told to do, because they're elected by the people for the people. And I could try and write letters to certain people, but they got me in connection with people and actually had a discussion with people, which was really nice.
Yeah.
And thank you for that.
That's what we have to do.
Yeah.
It's a representative form of government, right? And we got to have people that we can talk to that are responsible ultimately. If you've got a bunch of unelected bureaucrats creating 100,000 pages of new rules every year that aren't even accountable, that's not a good system.
No.
That needs to be corrected straight away.
Doesn't affect their paycheck. No, it doesn't affect their paycheck one bit.
In fact, there might be a perverse incentive. They may be incentivized to create more regulation to justify their jobs. Right? So we don't want that. We want to make sure that we have free markets. Like that's what's been the success of our country has been built on our constitutional republic and free market principles. We got to return to that. Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. We've talked about this before, Ty. There's 18 things in Article 1, Section 8. That's what we, the people, gave the federal government at its founding. Says, okay, you can perform these things like coin money, like a military. Those things the federal government can and should do better than private industry. Everything else, we need to keep federal government in its proper province, as Ronald Reagan would say, and everything else is the private sector or the individual.
I do like where you said, give it back to those cities and local government. Let them make the decisions. They know what's best. You can't do a blanket statement across the country and it apply in every scenario. And who knows best? The people that live there. They know what they need. They know what effects they have. You're talking about the police reform you did, or the police deal you did, and how it changed. And I did see a lot of cities, since you did that, follow your footsteps. But you had to change policy.
Yeah.
You had to change the law.
State law to do it. Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's what the concept, these laboratories, right? You've heard the term laboratories of democracy before. That's what states and municipalities, that's how they can function if the federal government isn't so heavy-handed and has made its way now into so many things that they're not supposed to be in. And so having my experience in local government for over 10 years, I think that is the perspective we need to take to DC and say, hey, I understand federalism. I understand local government is what governs best. If the federal government's to be involved, is it in the Constitution? If not, it's left to the states or to the people. And we need to keep pushing that to bring balance back to federalism. Federalism is that balance between the states and the federal government that we had at the beginning that we've lost.
One thing I'd like to see too is respectfully disagreeing. Typically, if you don't listen or do what I say, it's basically like, there's the highway. You can't have a civil discussion because, I get it. There's points that need to be made from both sides, but at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for the majority, not the minority.
Yeah.
And I did like how you said, if you're on the sidelines, make sure you vote, but be informed. And what I mean by be informed, don't listen to the media. Go do your own research.
Yeah.
Don't listen to your neighbor about why he's voting for somebody or another. Don't, people say don't bring up two things at a family dinner, politics, right? You don't bring that up, but don't be informed. You do what your heart tells you, your intuition tells you, what the universe is telling you, what God is telling you, but do your own research. So my hope for this show today is that everybody shares this, and because they need to know who Trent Staggs is even more than they already know. But what are the last thoughts you'd like to tell our audience, and we'll wrap this up?
Yeah, boy. Well, I think what we need more than anything today is people that have had courage. They've demonstrated moral courage and conviction to stand up against the establishment, because that's been our problem in this country for the last several decades. We've elected, like Tucker Carlson said, a ship of fools. We've had a ship of fools leading for far too long. These folks that care more about their own power, maintaining that power, than really what's in the Constitution and really representing people. So have the people that we elect, I think they need to have that record of standing up. And I've done that as a mayor, where I said no to COVID lockdowns and mandates. I was one of the few in the state that did that. I've fought back against high density housing. I've fought back against inappropriate materials in school. Time and time again, I've stood up. I've actually cut property taxes and cut taxes. We need people that have demonstrated that. And then I've demonstrated the way in which I've run my campaign, being the only one willing to challenge Mitt Romney.
You didn't buy your way onto the ballot.
Didn't buy my way on the ballot. I'm working with grassroots and delegates, and just, I'm an everyday Utahn. I've had my share of ups and downs. I don't have millions and millions of dollars that I can plug into my own campaign like some of these others, and millions of dollars in lobbyist donations and PAC, big political action committees coming in playing. If you want an everyday Utahn and somebody that's going to truly represent you, then I'm that person. And I'd ask you for your vote on June 25th. That's the primary. And here in the state of Utah, that primary is really the election, because the general election, we don't have competitive general races with Democrats. We're going to win statewide by probably 10, 15 points. So we need the Republican will in a general election. So this is it. We've got to have people. You're going to have a ballot in the mail. If you've not been registered to vote, they can do it at vote.utah.gov. Get on there, register to be, if you're not registered as a Republican, you need to be a registered Republican to vote in this primary.
Yeah. I would also tell you do this. I don't know if he can mention this, but link to his website. We'll put it in the below. But you can also donate, and those dollars go directly to him getting out in the media or things that he does to get in front of the general public. But I would encourage you that if you're a Trent Staggs fan like me, is share this with your people on Facebook or any Instagram, TikTok, whatever you can do so people know who he is. And put a link in there where they can find information about Trent. He is for the people. I hope you can vote with me, Trent Staggs, and you can feel the passion. And he is an everyday Utahn. He's not spending millions of dollars of his own money to get on the ballot. He's actually asking you to get him there across the finish line. So thank you, Trent, for being on the show today. And he will be our next U.S. Senator for Utah. So vote with me. And thank you again. Anything else?
Thank you, Ty. Appreciate it.
As always, share, like, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Ty Brady Way. As always, share, like, and subscribe. Go to Instagram on ty.r.brady. And as always, love hearing from you. And let me know what you want to learn on the show or what you'd like me to bring up on the show. Thanks.
You can find the Ty Brady Way on Instagram as well as Facebook. To stay connected with giveaways and Ty himself, go ahead and follow at ty.r.brady on Instagram as well as Facebook. This podcast was recorded, edited, and produced by Whitney Faith Media Marketing. And the theme music is an excerpt from Hot Chicken of the Woods by Isaac Joel.